Hey everybody, Davey here from Davey's World Fishing. Today I'm going to talk about fishing the Carolina rig. Very effective for largemouth bass. Stay tuned. Now the Carolina rig is probably one of the most popular ways to fish largemouth bass. It's actually very easy, but also very, very effective. It's great when fish are real lethargic and slow and hunkered down along the bottom. But basically what it is you have a sinker system with a little bit of a leader and then your bait. In general, when you're fishing the Carolina rig, you're gonna have a sliding sinker. What I have here is just a little bit of a bullet weight with a bead, and it goes right down to the swivel. I've got about a 2.5 foot leader here, fluorocarbon, and then down to my bait. The bait I've got there that happens to be the Fish Lab Slamamander. It's a salamander style bait. You can fish any of your favorite worms. You can fish any kind of lizard bait you like, but it's very effective. What happens is when you make your long cast, your bait's gonna sit on the bottom and it's gonna just be free. So your bait back here is gonna be able to go free. If you're fishing in any kind of current, river system or anything else, the weight gets down to the bottom and your bait can actually kind of swim freely, or it moves freely within that current. There's no weight holding it down in the back there, so it's moving all around, but that weight system keeps it down. In a lake system, make the long cast, it's basically the same. Make the long cast, let it get down to the bottom. Your bait's gonna do whatever it does back here in the back. If it's a worm, it's just gonna sit there, Slamamander or anything, they just kind of sit there. But you're just gonna get it out there and then slowly raise the rod tip, let it fall. And when you do that, your weight's gonna come up, your bait's gonna move, and then it's gonna fall back down. It's gonna come up and fall back down. So let's take a little look, see what that looks like. This isn't the optimal place because I've got all this coverage here, but you're just gonna make a nice long cast. Get that bait out there. Reel in your slack, let it get down towards the bottom. I know I'm fishing right about where I casted. There's about 15 feet, so not very deep. This is actually very effective in deep water, but not very deep here. Get it down to the bottom, reel in that slack. A lot of times if you're not using a weight stop, your slide will actually slide way up when you're cast, and then you gotta just catch up that slack a little bit. Your bait's way back there even further, you know, it could be 10, 15 feet from your weight at that point. So catch up that slack, you can actually feel it hit back down to your swivel, and then from there you're ready and you're fishing. So let it get down to the bottom. Like I said, it's very good for lethargic fish, so get it down there, just let that bait sit. So as I mentioned, it's very good for lethargic bass. It just gets down at the bottom, you don't have to do anything to it, and just wait. A lot of times those fish are gonna come around, they're gonna nose your bait, they're not gonna bite it, they're just gonna look at it, they might hover around, they might start to swim away. But when you're doing that, you don't know that that's happening out there, but like I said, just give it a little bit of a tip raise and then let it sit again. Reel in that slack and just kind of wait. Very simple. Give it a tip raise, bring it back down and let it sit. All you're doing is you're creeping that bait along the bottom. So that weight, when you're lifting up the weight, it doesn't necessarily come up off the bottom, it'll drag along the bottom, and your bait will kind of move freely. It'll go up and over weeds, it'll go up over stumps or anything else, but it'll just kind of sit in the back there. This Slamamander I'm fishing actually has a lot of secondary movement. It's got those gills, it's got a large paddle tail, it's got little feet. So every time you move that, it kind of wiggles a little bit. It hunkers up and it moves. Those gills flare out, the feet move, that tail wiggles. So it gives a lot of movement. A lot of times, as I mentioned, those fish are actually just gonna nose right up to your bait. Your bait's sitting there, it noses right up to it. And then as soon as you make that move, that's when it's gonna make that strike. They're just waiting for anything to happen, they'll make that strike. It's actually pretty crazy. So you're gonna lift that up, reel in that slack there, and just kind of let it sit. Very simple. So that's Carolina rig fishing. Very simple, very effective technique. Hope you get a little something out of that, but do me a favor, hit that like button down below and subscribe to Davey's World Fishing up in the right-hand corner. See you on the water.